reading from the first letter of Paul to the Thessalonians. We do not want you to be unaware, brothers and sisters, about those who have fallen asleep, so that you may not grieve like the rest who have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose, so too will God, through Jesus, bring with him those who have fallen asleep. Indeed, we tell you this, on the word of the Lord, that we who are alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will surely not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself, with a word of command, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet of God, will come down from heaven, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we, who are alive, who are left, will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Thus we shall always be with the Lord. Therefore, console one another with these words. The word of the Lord.
Our second reading for today comes from the first letter of Paul to the Thessalonians. When we were reflecting on the first reading from the book of Wisdom, we saw how wisdom is actively looking for people whom she could befriend. And we said that is grace, gift. But the first reading also emphasizes that we should be actively waiting for wisdom. Yes, wisdom searches for us, but are we eager to meet wisdom? The meeting of grace and our reception and our active desire to welcome the gift. Now, in the second reading, we find the Thessalonians with one concern. They were concerned about the dead. Why? Because they had this hope that Jesus will come again in his glory very soon. What we call the parousia, the second coming of the Lord in full glory. The Thessalonians believed that that was imminent, that the second coming was near. Now, they were not concerned about themselves because they were still alive, living here on earth. And so they concluded, when Jesus comes again, we will be here to welcome him. But they were concerned about those who had passed on earlier. How about the dead? When Jesus comes, what happens to them? They will not be able to meet the Lord. And St. Paul tells them, okay, don't worry. When Jesus comes again, when Jesus descends from the clouds in glory to meet us, he will wake up the dead. The Lord will not forget them, just like wisdom in the first reading. Jesus, who is our wisdom, will go everywhere in order to encounter us. So St. Paul, using a different approach or different terminology, says, don't worry about the dead. Jesus will make sure that they rise from the dead in order to encounter him. And then you also, the living, you are supposed to meet the Lord. Now, the problem is not with the dead. They will be raised by Jesus. I think the main problem of St. Paul is the living. When Jesus comes in glory, will we be focused? Or, according to him, will we be like the desperate, the hopeless, worried about different things, concerned about this and that, and in our concerns, our focus is not anymore on Jesus who comes to our lives? My dear brothers and sisters, look at the pattern of the first two readings. The pattern of God coming to us, and we hopefully attentive to receive him when He comes. And let us not worry about the dead or other things. How about us? When He comes at a time when we do not know, will we be there to welcome Him? Will our hearts be found focused on Him, longing for Him? Or will our hearts be turned away from Him because our concern is not Him and not His coming? This is not just about death, my dear brothers and sisters. We are talking about even daily living, because wisdom, Jesus, comes to us. Maybe not in His full glory, what we call the second coming, but Jesus still comes to us in ordinary ways in our daily living, like wisdom, roaming around to meet us. But will we be there to meet Him? So, dear brothers and sisters, another question comes from the second reading. We may be too concerned about many things. Are we losing our concern to be focused on Jesus when He comes, whenever that may be and wherever that may happen?